What's going on, everybody? This is Vinylic Puma, and today I want to give you my thoughts on the Thief reboot. Mainly, I kind of want to talk about whether it's worth getting, worth waiting till a Steam sale, or you should just avoid it at all costs. So I'd like to start off with some of the positives, and mainly we'll also start off with talking about the graphics for this game. The graphics look extremely good. I am playing this on PC at max settings. There were a couple things that I thought were kind of silly, like when the rain drops on some surfaces, it seemed like they had this very generic texture. But other than that, when you compare that to the people's clothing in the game, particularly Garrett's and even Aaron's in the first level, and then even like the lighting effects, the shadow effects, the graphics are really, really impressive. So they did a really good job about that. Really, I think the reasoning behind the weird water textures when rain falls, I think that is mainly because this is a cross-generation title. I mean, this did come out on 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So they are obviously going to have to complement all of those systems. The gameplay for this game is very good. I think the stealth mechanics are very solid. Some people say that they aren't. But like, for example, they say that the guards aren't sensitive enough. If you're playing on Master, or at least in my experience of playing on Master, I felt that the guards were sometimes almost too sensitive. So I guess that comes down to personal preference. Another thing I will say as far as gameplay goes, this game emphasizes you, instead of just like running through and killing things like you can in Dishonored, this game you have to be really stealthy, because when you do actually get into combat, 90% of the time you are probably either going to hopefully run away, or if you do decide to fight, there's only one guy there. Really, in my experience, every time I tried to fight, I got killed. So definitely try to run away. Yeah, so we'll go on to the next thing. Something I'd like to applaud Eidos Montreal on is some of the level design in the game. Some people have said that the levels aren't big enough. Really, I didn't find this a problem. Now, I will say I didn't play the original Thief. Now, if you played the original Thief, you probably have a different opinion of that. I will talk about one of the levels I liked in particular, though. There is a level where you go to an insane asylum to find Aaron, which is one of the characters in the game. And that was probably one of my scariest video game moments ever. It felt like you were being snuck up on. Like there was an example of a area where you would go up and pick up an item on a stage where there were these mannequins, and the mannequins were interacting with each other. When you turned around, all the mannequins were facing you. It was the scariest thing that I had experienced in this game, and it was just really a freaky area. And props to Eidos Montreal for including that. I mean, they did a really, really good job with that level. And now I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the negatives with this game. First off, this game has an identity crisis. It's somewhere in between Dishonored and Skyrim. Now, the reason I say that is, as far as Skyrim goes, I felt like there's this unnecessary need to switch to third person. Like, there are some areas in the game where you can climb up on walls and scaffolding and stuff, and it just switches to third person. Or when you do takedowns, it'll go to third person sometimes, especially if you're on top of them, or if you're like on a ledge over them, looking down on them. Or, and I just thought that was sort of unnecessary. The other thing is that it just felt kind of like Dishonored. And mainly the one thing that that stuck out most to me was there's another level, and this is kind of the bad things they did with level design is they made a brothel level. And I mean, we have a brothel level in Dishonored. We don't need a brothel level in every stealth game. And it just frustrates me in a way that this is going to be a trend now, that we have to have a brothel in a stealth game. And that's like the defining characteristic. And it's always like either the third level or something like that. And actually, I think it's the third chapter in this game. I think it's the third level in Dishonored. Another problem I had with this game is the combat. The combat in this game is atrocious. I'm sorry to say, but it is. I felt like I was spamming the right right bumper all the time, hitting the guys with the blackjack weapon. And it just didn't do anything. And more often than not, every time I got detected in that way, it just resulted in me dying. And I didn't really feel like I could get out of it unless I ran away. In Dishonored, you can fight those guys off. Now, I will say that Garrett is different from the guy in Dishonored. The guy in Dishonored's like a trained killer, assassin, I don't want to say ninja, but I mean, he's a trained killer, where Garrett is a thief. A thief doesn't necessarily go out and just kill everybody in sight. So there is that point to bring up as well. Another issue that I had with the game is some of the way the audio is mixed. Sometimes the dialogue isn't loud enough, or it's way too loud. Like there'll be conversation between two characters, and like Garrett will say something, the other person will respond back, and then Garrett's voice, when he's talking again, just suddenly it's like it became 10 decibels louder. Now it just seems like there's a lot of weird technical issues with some of the audio. And I think hopefully there might be a way for them to work that out in future patches. But right now, I'm sorry to say, it's pretty bad. Another thing I would have liked to have seen is more use of some of the RPG elements in the game. They are there, but in a lot of ways, like you can get these things called focus points that improve Garrett's attributes. Particularly when it comes to stealth, aiming the bow, and keeping the max aim longer. Like a lot of those didn't really seem to be all of that useful. And it's kind of a shame because they had these cool RPG elements, but they seemed like they weren't even noticeable, or it just didn't really matter when it all came down to it. Overall, though, I think this game was very fun. I really enjoyed my time with it. As far as whether it's worth the $59.99 or the $49.99, I think if you're buying it on Steam, really, honestly, I think you should just wait until it drops in price a little bit. At this point, I feel like for a AAA title, like especially with the problems with the audio, I feel like that is kind of unacceptable, and really they shouldn't be charging more than $40 for this game. I mean, that sounds harsh, but I mean that's the reality. That said, though, if you can pick this game up and you can get it for a good price, I highly recommend you do. It was a very fun experience, and I enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. So, again, guys, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up my thoughts on the Thief reboot. If you like my thoughts on videos, or you like this particular video, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Take care and have a good one.